we have to answer our children's questions. True. Like asking, why am I going to school? I mean, kids are being tortured in school. I know, I'm a teacher. I mean, they are not having a good time in school. They are suffering, especially those in boarding school.
Yeah.
Then now you're telling them, finish school and you'll get a good job. Nyef, 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 nyef. They can see their cousin finish school, doesn't have a job.
Yeah.
True. So what do you mean?
then even like CBC, they were saying, oh, now you see the kids can do sports as talent. But then that same kid is seeing what's happening to Harambee Stars.
Yeah.
So you have to answer that question. The mainstream churches were building the hospitals. With these new churches, they are healing. You see? Because remember also...
They took a shortcut.
Remember also...
That's fire. Okay.
The hospitals have been defunded because of IMF. So if there are no hospitals, you have this preacher who says, don't worry, Jesus will heal you. And your results are there. Pap, pap, pap. You're being healed maramoja. So, like when you see Uhuru Park, the way it has been mutilated, the idea is they don't want people meeting without some control, without a pastor or a teacher controlling them or a mainstream media house. And that's why even the government is picking up just people who are on Twitter saying, let's do this, let's do this. Yeah. The government is very scared of Kenyans meeting to talk. It's that simple. Just Kenyans meeting to talk and think about life. It scares the hell out of them. So they'll spoil every space where Kenyans can meet. Even sports, we can't. I mean, look what they do to sports. We can barely reach a tournament.
Yeah.
So was it the governor who wished someone, the person who died on the protest, unfortunately?
She's the whole poster.
She's 75% of the picture and then the photo of the person who died.
With a fading image. And it's like, so what was the purpose?
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Bro, you see...
And I'm sure it's not the designer who did that. They were told.
Fanya. Yake weka fading huko kwa kona. Why?
It's like they send it, we need an RIP message for this guy, and then you design it, you send it, and then they're like, where am I?
You know,
but
it's an actual
over 26. This is the Burger Podcast.
This is the Brunch Club.
Over 26. Welcome back to
the mics are cool.
Now, when you watch it, you'll understand.
What up, my name is Chaxy, the mastermind, your main guy, the Lord Chaxy, the beautiful Mariah is around, the amazing Mwass is around, the whole gang is around, David is around, episode 176, we are mic check! And we have a special guest today.
Yeah.
Professor Wandia. What up, Sasa? Professor Sasa. You know, you're the first professor we've had on set.
For real.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You just decided you want to study, become the Yeah. How are you feeling today?
I am nervous.
Yeah, I can tell.
I hope you don't roast me on behalf of my generation.
No,
because we are messing you up.
Kidogo is
a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
we'll shock you.
Yeah. So maybe maybe I'll explain how we got here, and then maybe you can introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay.
So a lot has been going on, especially around the finance bill. And we've, been very actively involved in being out there on the streets, on social media, and just trying to hold the government accountable. But I think towards end of this week, especially on Thursday, when there were, young kids being shot and whatnot, man, that really, like personally, that really got to me, like a lot. And I think so. First person I called him DQ. Then drama queen, I was like, I just need to process what's going on, and because there's a lot of anger. And there's a lot of rage, but then it's more of how do we process that? And how do we still, how can we still be able to do what we need to do? And so, so we were literally shortlisting names of people that we thought would be ideal to have a conversation with, and your name was first. So, and then I was like, okay, so do you have a number? She was like, no. I was like, you find her. I was like, perfect.
You don't have my number? How?
Say less. So as usual, so we have a nice community. So your number was sent to me. And also your nephew David
Yes.
sent us screenshots
Shout
of
out
a
to
Shout out to
message.
David.
He was like, yo, you have to go on that pod. Yeah, so that's how we ended up, having him here on the pod. Yeah. So
Okay.
maybe you can introduce yourself. I think that would be a nice point to start.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for having me. I mentioned you guys once on Twitter.
Really?
Yes,
Oh, wow.
I did. I said we need these spaces, these alternative spaces for talking about what's happening in Kenya.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of mainstream media. I'm really tired.
You get the media.
So I was saying, let Kenyans have their own places to talk. And I mentioned this podcast. So thank you for having me. I never knew I would be invited.
This is off the Sifuna episode?
Yes.
Because you told me you watched the Sifuna
I
episode.
watched the Sifuna episode. So after that, now I checked your channel. So that's how I knew about my
crazy.
checks.
That's crazy, bro.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my name is Wandia. I teach at Daystar. My teaching subject, the one I did, was French.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
No, it's bon après-midi.
Gracias.
Yeah, but I became very interested in Africa because of my studies. So I studied the Sengos, Usman Semben, Thomas Sankara, all those guys were the people I was studying. So I think that's how I became political as such. But I also was very active when I was younger. So we did the streets in the 90s also. It was worse then, but so here I am.
Yeah. So what did you guys do in like in the 90s?
You see, like for us, the big issue was the first it was the tribal ethnic clashes of 92, which were in Molo. And we knew it was the government that was sponsoring them. So we had a demonstration. I was in KU that time.
Ish.
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
Hey!
Asking for how long?
Yeah, so
nice
I chewed tear gas then, was beaten. Then I also lived in a house with somebody who was also on the street. So we went with him a couple of times. So that's my story.
Yeah. But you live with someone in the house, you mean your husband?
No, that time. That
okay.
was in my 20s. I was in my 20s.
Okay.
See, these 1990s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think like for context of maybe what I envision to get out of this podcast would be to understand how we got here.
Okay.
The situation where we are now. So it's a good thing that you're drawing in even context from the 90s.
Yeah.
Also understand how we got here, where we are now, and maybe possible ways or solutions going forward. So maybe to begin with is, so when you see everything that is happening around now, like how are you processing everything? Like what's going on in your mind currently?
I'm sorry to say I'm not surprised.
Okay.
I am not surprised. I think around 4 years ago, I could tell something isn't working. And my frustration was that I didn't think Kenyans would say anything. I kept complaining, why aren't people saying anything? Why aren't people saying anything? So in a sense, this is, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that the young people finally took it up and ran with it. In terms of where the current economic situation is and the politics, I am not surprised at all. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm just pleasantly surprised that the young people took it up and ran with it. Yeah.
And this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
So for maybe if you could help describe, like in the early 90s, when did we get involved with the IMF? How did we get involved with the IMF? And at what point, like, do you know which years and what happened exactly?
Okay, unfortunately, I don't know the details, but I suspect we were involved from the very beginning, from independence.
Okay.
What was happening is that now that African countries were becoming independent, the West had to make sure that they have their control on us. So, of course, we had been plundered by colonialism, so we had no money, and yet the new governments had to provide services. So now the IMF and the World Bank came in and said, we'll give you loans to build your hospitals, to build your schools, and then you pay us back. The thing that changed in the 90s, which is now where you might be more interested, is that communism fell. I don't know if you people know about communism and the Cold War.
Yeah.
Until 1989, when the USSR split,
Yeah.
the US was sponsoring all governments that were pro-capitalist, like Kenya. It was almost like a blank check. You give Kenya money because you don't want it to become communist. And in fact, DRC Congo was the worst because Mobutu was so corrupt. He looted that country, never developed anything, and he was getting money and money and money. So the IMF used to look the other way because
The agenda is being...
we don't want them to become communists. So now when the Berlin Wall fell, or when USSR split, that's now when IMF starts saying, hey, by the way, we want our money. You have to do A, B, C, D. You must sell all your public services. You must do this, this, this. So they start saying that in the 90s. So there was already a movement against Moi. So they met. They kind of met, and then IMF was saying, "Oh yeah, you must respect human rights if you want us to give you good conditions for your loans." So that's how IMF was always there. I'm not sure about the details, but it changed in the 90s after communism fell because now they were not afraid of Kenya becoming communist. So now they could say, we want our money and we can ask for anything. We can choke you if we have to, but yeah.
Yeah. So prior to this, then is this when a lot of things become privatized? Like prior to this,
Yes.
Because I'm assuming in terms of especially government functions, healthcare, education, whatnot. So prior to this, a lot of things were still run by the government?
Yes. I'm telling you, like me, I did B.Ed at KU. We got
B.Ed?
our Bachelor of Education.
Okay.
Bachelor of Arts in Education. Yeah. So we were training to be teachers. We were getting our letters.
Which years is this?
No.
I just need to know. I just trying to paint a picture.
Okay, I know. I was finishing in 94. In fact, I would have finished earlier.
That's uni?
Yes. Yes,
You don't look it.
I finished my undergraduate in 94. But
that's when I was born.
Yeah. So when we were finishing, we already had our TSC postings to the schools.
Immediately.
That we are, not even immediately,
Before
we finished our final exams. In fact, I can't even remember filling those forms, but I think we were told, come fill these forms for TSC. Yeah. By the time we were finishing exams, we knew where we were going. Wow. And it was like that for doctors. So you hear what doctors are saying about internships. Basically, I think doctors, teachers, I can't remember which other jobs. But so it was kind of automatic that we go into government because we are going to now be the teachers and the doctors and the professionals serving the people on the government payroll. So now when IMF says we don't want to fund this anymore, now those kinds of jobs go. So I think the first teachers who didn't get posting were like by 96, 97, it stopped being automatic.
What do you mean by automatic?
That it's not automatic, you get a posting after you finish. Yes.
So you'd have to go and look for it yourself.
So you have to go look for it, or you apply and wait and do interviews. We didn't even do interviews. You get your letter and go. That's it.
Straight into a school?
Straight into a school. Yeah.
Would you say at the time, is it because the systems worked or is it because there was scarcity of labor?
scarcity of labor and there was funding, both.
Okay.
Because remember, during colonialism, at independence, the idea was that Africans take over where the Wazungu left. So all the jobs that were occupied by Wazungu, the idea was we train more Africans to enter those jobs. So now those jobs included the high school and primary school teaching. So that's why we were being posted. Yeah.
Yeah. And so at this time, how actively involved is the church in politics, like around the 90s?
Okay. The church has had it's been what do you call it? Heavy. I mean, there were some who are pro, and then you have these individual clergy who are against.
Yeah.
So what happened in the 1990s? A certain reverend preached this sermon saying, now that the Berlin Wall has fallen, we have to now start asking, what is this contract we have? And it was January 1, 1990. But before that, there had been debates about should we have a single party system?
Yeah.
And people like now Alexander Muge, there was a debate among the clergy. So people like Alexander Muge said, if we have multi-party, there'll be tribalism. Others said, no, we need freedom, we need pluralism. So even though Muge was not necessarily sold out on this multi-party idea, the fact that he was vocal and that he was standing up for his diocese is what now got the government angry with him. And then he died in an accident, quote unquote. Yeah.
Wow.
Then now, as the 90s come and more now clergy start talking, there were people like Gitare, Manasseh Kuria, Henry Okulu, all those ACK. I think Jenga, I can't remember his first name, also ACK, and then Njoya of PCA. There was another PCA clergy who was arrested for having a journal. I can't remember. But that was generally the sort of like the landscape.
Yeah.
So these clergy, the other thing is most Kenyans don't know that there's a difference between the evangelical and the mainstream churches. The mainstream churches are the ones that came during colonialism. So you have Presbyterian, ACK, Catholic, which other one? Anglican, SDA, those ones. And then now there were these new denominations that were coming in the 90s. So there was a difference between what the mainstream churches were doing and what the evangelical churches were doing. So I think that's where a lot of Kenyans assume that the church was the same all across. It was not.
Yeah.
It was not. They were not all united on the same things. I remember when my father used to be bitter, it was Christians who used to come and tell him to stop doing what he was doing. So even when Christians are saying the church used to, they're not being honest.
So at this time, so even in the 90s, also you guys had the Canaries and the Pastangangas of the time? Or
I'm not
helicopters,
sure.
Helicopter Church of Christ. You know the ones, the fun ones we see nowadays.
Well, they were posher. They were in the hotels. Yeah, they had a lot of money. In fact, sometimes I suspect that there might have also been some American, corporate money behind those churches. But I'm just speculating. But they were very well funded.
Okay.
They were very well funded, and they targeted the graduates, people like us, because they were calculating we would be the next leaders. And they calculated well, because now they captured us, and by the time we were in a position to say anything, we didn't say anything. Yeah. So I think they calculated quite well. Just like
and
that.
who's behind this? Is it the government or like there's other interests?
With America, you can't tell,
True.
because America has always been in our business. Even during the 70s, when Kinagoge were being harassed by the government. The CIA was, they were still behind a lot of, like, when students are meeting and they meet at this guy's house and this guy is just saying he's a poet and an artist, but kumbe, he's on CIA payroll. And even him, he doesn't know he's on CIA payroll because the CIA is channeling the money through some NGOs, some foundations and what. So this money, you can't really tell where it's coming from. What it's saying on paper is probably not what it really is.
Yeah.
So there has been a lot of that in Kenya, especially with the educated class. Hey, America is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I look at the flamboyance in church nowadays and the constant need for money, I don't know why. Like, I don't go to church, but all the times I've had to be in church, they're always fundraising for something. I don't understand how churches always want money. So then, to me, that becomes an easy target for politicians.
Yeah.
One, we know that, unfortunately, we're in a society where religion means a lot to people, and it's an easy way to get access to people. So then, if within that religious space there's a need for a lot of money, it becomes an easy target for politicians. So when I see all these brown envelopes, when I see all these politicians, every Sunday, politicians are on a roster. Every single Sunday, they're always in a church somewhere. So it becomes such an easy target. So then I was like, okay, was it always the same thing, or because I'm sure it definitely changed at some point.
The 90s, in fact, I've talked about this with my friend Karonganga. The 90s changed the way we thought about life. IMF did us in. Anyway, what changes in the 90s? You see the mainstream churches, there was more focus on, following the rules. In PCA, we say mutaratara. You're just following the rules. You're getting confirmed. You're getting married. That kind of thing. So even though there was a focus on money, it wasn't at that kind of Harambee style, big project, big church, big what. It changes in the 90s because you see now that IMF had basically individualized everything, including religion. Now you have these pastors who start their own churches. As in, I decide, you see, before I have to be employed by the Catholic Church or the Anglican Church. So there's a structure.
Yes.
But now when the church is mine, I'm the one who raises money and I keep the money. I decide how I'm going to use the money.
Zero taxes.
Yeah, you claim zero taxes. So that's why there seems to be an obsession with money. The other thing that changed was the mainstream churches were building the hospitals. With these new churches, they are healing. You see? Because remember also...
They took a shortcut.
Remember also...
That's fire. Okay.
The hospitals have been defunded because of IMF. So if there are no hospitals, you have this preacher who says, don't worry, Jesus will heal you. And your results are there. Pap, pap, pap. You're being healed maramoja. So you see now he can raise money like that because he doesn't need to build a hospital now that he's healing you by laying the hands on you. So he doesn't need to raise money for a hospital. He's now just heals you. And then he tells you, you only need to read the Bible. You don't need to know so much. So you take care of the social decline, you take care of it by saying Jesus will do everything for you. Yeah. So that's I was saying we have to understand there's British and there's American imperialism. They are different. What we had until the 90s was British, where it's your snobs, you drink tea with your finger up like this. You went to the right schools, alumni, like that. But now with American imperialism, you become a superstar on your own. It's not about class or where you were born or which institutions you went. It's that you make money. You make money and you become a CEO and a star. So those are the two ways of looking at the world that Kenya is struggling with. You have the old school, now us, the people you're rioting against. As we are in the old school of snobbery, follow the rules, have good behavior, that kind of thing.
That bit for
And
good
then-
behavior.
That's
is very
why-
questionable.
Yeah, I
behavior.
mean, vumilia, wait
Okay.
for your turn, that kind of logic. And then now you have this upcoming generation which has been raised on, chap, be successful, do your thing, So those are the two imperialisms that we have to be careful about, because it's still imperialism, but it's just the style that is different. Yeah.
Then what role would like the school system play in maybe sort of the system you went through and the system we went through? Like, because now, especially because that's your field, the way it's changed over time, including even what we have now, what role do you think that has had in just the way we think?
Because you see, I went under the old A-level system. So it was of missionaries, you follow the rules, and then now 844 was the American liberal arts. And also the old system is pathways, which have now been brought back by my generation. So when you enter school at Form 2, you choose your subjects. So you choose arts or science. If you choose whatever you choose, which is now Ruto's problem, you stay on that path and you never see another class on the other side again. So he did the sciences, which means he did sciences from Form 2 all the way to university. Never saw an arts class ever again. So you can see that's why he's having difficulty interpreting things. He can't pick up mood. When people are upset, he's not picking it up. When he's making a speech, he's not even realizing people are sad because they've lost their loved ones. People are angry at the politicians. Those things. He finds it hard to pick those things up. But then now us on the other side, we never saw a science class again. You do Form 2, go all the way to Form 6, then you go to university and you never see a science class again. So that ended with 844. 844, now you do all the subjects up to Form 4, which to me, I think it was a good thing. But my generation again decided they don't want that. Now they've brought back the old system where you choose your pathway, which is a very British idea. You choose your pathway and you stick to it for the rest of your life. But that only works for the UK. It doesn't work here. So that's what has happened with education. It's a confusion. It's a confusion of who we are, and that's why I made so much noise. I said we have to decide for ourselves what we want. We can't keep on following Britain, then America, then back to Britain. I mean, we have to have a Kenyan education system based on who we are.
What does that look like?
Imagine I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, for me, I think it's not even the school system. I want a variety of things people can do. There should be sports, libraries, cultural centers, many things, so that it's not only school where you are going for education. So even this is education.
For sure.
Yeah, so we need this times. People having places where they can go talk, think about life, be active, dance, do sports, tell stories. That's what we need. The thing with Kenya is that, and this is why people are frustrated with the church, partly because we have no other spaces other than the school, the government, and the church. So if you're not teaching and you're not a student, where are you meeting people to talk? It's the church. So people are expecting much more from the church than the church can deliver. And this is related to, like, when you see Uhuru Park, the way it has been mutilated. The idea is they don't want people meeting without some control, without a pastor or a teacher controlling them, or a mainstream media house. And that's why even the government is picking up just people who are on Twitter saying, let's do this, let's do this. The government is very scared of Kenyans meeting to talk. It's that simple. Just Kenyans meeting to talk and think about life. It scares the hell out of them. So they'll spoil every space where Kenyans can meet Even sports, we can't. I mean, look what they do to sports. We can barely reach a tournament.
Yeah.
So you destroy all the spaces until Kenyans are left with school, church. That's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough. Those two things can't take the weight of everything that we want to do with life together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think the government is now scared of the internet? Because
Now
now we can
meet the- we don't
converge
need Uhuru
digitally.
Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they are, but it's not a new fear. It has always been like this. You just keep on crashing spaces where people meet. I mean, Uhuru Park. Uhuru Park is just somewhere where people can see. And it's not even just to meet to do politics. Even to meet I'm taking my girlfriend out for a Fanta and we are sitting under a tree and staring into each other's eyes. That they cannot have. They want you to go to Java, ukunywe kahawa, kama lazizi. That's what they want. That's what they want because you see, you're controlled by money. You can't sit in Java unless you have money.
Yeah.
So now, if you're going to Java, you're controlled. But if you're going to Uhuru Park and you're not paying anybody, that's why they had to put a gate. Now say you have to pay, leave your ID. It's just that idea of people
Control.
freely thinking, being together. That just scares the hell out of them.
That's crazy because I'm like, they give themselves so much work when they could just let things just run.
True.
You know,
But they won't be needed. You see, they need to be needed.
at our expense though.
Yes, that's how the system works. You force people to need you.
What do they gain
It's
other than control?
It's not normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal. Yeah.
I think that's what I need to get a girlfriend. That's probably what I need. I
You feel needed.
They need to be needed.
No, it's not enough. I mean, even when you see these mubabas, sorry to say, when they're hitting on girls, Kwani, what do you think it is?
True.
It's being needed. Yeah. These people are empty. They have no life. They're not creative. So you get a girl to fill that void. Yeah, that emptiness. That's how it works.
So the Easy Days Youth for Kanu, I think now that becomes a bit active, like in the early 90s, right? So at the time, is it seen as a positive thing, like young people for the government? Is it because I'd assume from the outside it's the government wanting the young people to feel like we are including you, so we're gonna form like a youth arm of the government. But was that the case? Because Ruto, all these guys are all guys from YK 92. Yeah.
You see, okay, let me not talk on their behalf. I don't know what it was like inside, but for me, seeing from the outside, you see now 1992 was the first multi-party election.
Yes.
So Moi had to campaign to defeat Ford. That time it was Ford Kenya, I think so, and Ford Asili. So it was mainly a campaign machine, and they wanted to tap into the youth to campaign for Kanu. So that's really what it was. The other thing I remember was that there was money. There was money. So what people would do is that they all go to DP. That was Kibaki's party. You go to Democratic Party, you all buy membership cards, then you hire a bus to take you to State House to defect to Kanu. And when you defect to Kanu, now you're given more money. Yeah. So that's how it used to work. The way I saw YK 92, I don't think it was ever it was not people who are driven by principle. Yeah, it was about money and power.
And it's the same thing till now. It's just money.
I guess.
Money, power,
Money and power, yeah.
Respect is like uko. It doesn't
doesn't
exist in their minds. You know,
It's not even in the room.
Yeah. So, like, if you look at Africa now, do we need the IMF? And are there countries that don't work with IMF? Do you know of any?
I don't know. That one I don't know. I don't know whether there are countries that do without the IMF. We don't need the IMF. Yeah. What the IMF does is that it corrupts our systems because it gives leaders who are not functioning properly, you give them money to maintain their governments. And so those leaders have no incentives to take care of the country and to develop it. That's what the IMF does. The other thing IMF gives us loans for is things that we don't need. So we'll just be paying loans for things we didn't need, which didn't even benefit us.
Yeah.
So we don't need the IMF, but it takes a political mind to say no and to determine that we are not going to do it. It's very hard because you see what happened to Sankara when he said we should not pay these loans. Yeah.
How do you think we're in too deep already, or there's a chance that in the next generation maybe we can defect from it as Kenya?
First of all, even the young people have been saying we need to see the debt. We need to know what debts we have and for what.
Yeah.
I think our debt stands at what? I think I had it somewhere, 11.3 trillion.
It's okay, but we need a break.
That's where our debt stands now, yeah. 11.3
But
trillion.
we need a breakdown of who lent us what, where is the money coming from, and what did it do?
Thank you.
Because but that's why I know I'll never be president. I would go for the assets of politicians.
Definitely.
Aki, I would go for them.
And we'd recoup most of this money.
It's the
I
easiest way
would
to
just
pay.
say all your businesses, we sell them and we give the money back to IMF. But you see, IMF is a loan shark, by the way. It's not an institution. It's a loan shark properly.
Yeah.
So what they do is they start undermining your economy. They cause coups. Even all these coups we see in Africa, South America, it's because of IMF.
Yeah.
So to get off IMF, it has to be a continental project. Yeah. In fact, people should look for that speech of Thomas Sankara, they see. Because Sankara even said it. He said, we shouldn't be paying these debts, but today, if I refuse to pay this debt, they will come for me. So all of us, the whole continent, have to say, no. It can't be one country. It has to be all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
But I think there's hope because if you see the way Burkina Faso and Niger, the way they are tired of Americans, I think they'll reach a point where the whole of Africa will just say,
We're done.
we are done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the change. And they are very scared of that. So anyone,
Yes.
even like the Gaddafis, anyone who is very pro one Africa agenda, they just disappear or just things happen to them. They're very scared of a united Africa. Yeah. But so if I just look at maybe what's going on now, right? Because what we have is a spending problem. We don't have a revenue collection problem per se. So the government is just, they just want more money. But it's what you're saying. What we have is a spending problem. Because now we are asking, we're asking the government simple questions like, why are kids in Turkana studying under a shade and you need 800 million to renovate your office? Or the new budget says the president they need 800 million for confidential expenditure. So we're like, okay, why do we suddenly have confidential expenditure that's going to cost us 800 million? So it's just this spending problem. Because I'm like, okay, how do you explain Sudi has, he's never invented anything. He doesn't have, like, he didn't go to school for anything. He's not invented anything. How do you explain you suddenly have all this, 60 million worth of cars every single Sunday,
Donating millions.
He has a 30 million Maybach.
That's new. Every Sunday. How do you explain that every Sunday?
You can donate 20 million to a
donating
church.
20 million, and that's just the one that we know. In the course of the week, I know you're
How many
still
places
doing
do you
donations. So how do you
visit?
explain where this money comes from? And we can see it. So it's more of, you guys have a spending problem, and that's what we're trying to tell the government. Okay, what language does the government understand?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, because each time, like now, what he posted yesterday, or now there's a committee that needs to listen to young people. We're like, okay, now you're going to spend more money to form another committee to
They're
meet
still
in
not
Mombasa.
gonna do nothing.
I'm like,
And
what language
all
do
the
they
messaging
understand?
is online. Just click the hashtag.
We've told you everything that we need to tell you.
What?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to say this. I hope I will make sense because every time I've tried to explain, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The problem is our identity and our values. The thing about you people, you're not impressed by big cars and what. That's what I'm hearing. But my generation is, those of us who grew up in shags, we really aspired for these things.
Yeah.
We thought it makes us human. I don't know. It's a spiritual problem. I'm sorry to say this. And I'm not talking about spiritual in terms of religion, but just that sense of, I can be okay with this. I don't need, why do you need 10 cars?
Truly.
Really, really. You can only be in one car once. You can't be in 2 cars at the same time. So why have more than one? Why have these convoys of 30? I was counting 30 cars.
Imagine.
A governor living. I don't understand it. So there's a spiritual hollowness in my generation. I don't know where it came. I can't explain it. Because if you watch Sankara, and that's what I'm saying, go watch for the documentary, An Upright Man. I think that's what it's called. When he took over government, he said no more Mercedeses. In fact, he wanted the cabinet ministers to use two ministers, one car. Then they told him, "Ay, bana, now that's too much." But he was driving in a small Capujo. His salary was for a captain. What he said was, if you're a minister and you come into government, you're paid according to your profession. So if you're a minister and you were a teacher before, you're paid a teacher's salary. Damn. Yeah, I know,
So
if you saw him, he was a captain. He was paid a captain's salary.
That's what you're saying.
So if you don't have a profession, because now we have people in government who
with no papers, no documentation.
So those ones just comes up. No
that's why you pay messenger. Or I don't know, but that's how they were paying the salary.
Yeah.
So, in fact, part of what brought him down was people like me who went to school who felt, "Ay, bana, how can I go to school and you're not paying me big money? What do you mean?" So that's a question Africans have to confront.
Yeah.
Must we have so much? Really?
Yeah.
So now when you think of that, then now you think of these politicians. Imagine they feel empty if they are not with a lot of money and a lot of property. And that's what's confusing them about Gen Z. Because Gen Z are saying, no, it's not the money we want, it's the principle, get out. You know, we are tired of this spending. Then they start saying, oh, who can we pay? Who can we pay? But I think what is unique about this moment is that the generation on the streets is not moved by money.
Yeah.
As we were bought out.
You know, that's why I think...
we were bought out.
That's why I think you guys are surprised when...
Yeah.
Like now, you see, for us, you guys, it was such a big deal to finish school, you need to buy land, you need to have one.
Yeah.
As you're like, you don't want land. And it's so confusing for you guys. It's like, how don't you just want land?
Yeah.
Start a family. As you're like, we don't want to start a family.
You're on your last 50K and you're like, let me go to the army.
Let me go to the army. I know. I think it's so confusing for you guys.
Completely. That's why I'm confusing.
Or the one that bombers me the most, quitting a job before finding another one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Toxicity, I can't do it.
Actually, that place is not good for my mental health.
Yeah.
Your dad is like, what do you mean? So now you're going to be jobless here, but at peace.
And it's fine.
That one my generation doesn't understand.
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah. In fact, even me when I was going to school, because you're telling me about going to school so much.
Yeah.
When I was doing my master's, people are telling me, why are you going back to school? You're not going to make money? And then there I am. My friends have cars because, you know, those days university graduates used to get good jobs. So they have cars and me, I'm walking to the bus stop and I'm a master's student. I was looking very foolish. Yeah. But me, I like ideas. I wanted to learn more. So I went back to school. It's just that now because the market is doing so badly, more people want to study.
Yeah.
But when I was going back to school, people thought it was a joke. They thought, what money are you going to make? Aren't you happy with what you have? You know, you have a degree, go get a job, drive a car. Yeah. They can't imagine that people have other values.
Other values or other interests, you know.
So that already is the revolution, even before now. they reject
Yes.
finance bill.
Oh,
That
yeah.
in itself is already a change,
Yeah.
which is so important. It's such an important change.
And yeah, because it's the mindset,
Mm.
and I think that's what they're scared the most about. Because it's more of like, okay, how do we understand how
Their brains
how do
work.
because what do they want? It's like they don't understand exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Because also we don't want one thing. Them they wanted the same thing. Like you're saying, go to school, finish, get a job, start a family.
Buy
Then you have
land.
your church there. Like they had that
And
system.
then maintain a routine for 40 years.
Yeah, you do the same
Like
things.
25 to 65.
Yeah, the same thing. You retire at G60, you get your pension. Like they had that system. So when that mindset, when we don't have the same mindset, I think it's very confusing for them. But even if I narrow it down to now, what happened like in the past 2 weeks, like it's clearly just a dictatorship, to be very honest. For lack of a better definition, where we are literally telling the government what we don't want and what we want, because the government ideally they work for us. You know what I mean? And so this is us telling them we don't want X, or please explain why, and they just don't want. So they
can't. They can't.
Yeah,
They're not. They don't. We don't have the capacity. I'm sorry. You're asking.
Don't include yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, they're good people.
You're
Them guys,
asking
them
of
ops.
us
Yeah.
things that we are not able to do. I even said this on, it was Hope FM.
Yeah.
My generation, we grew up being told what to do, and we were told, you see, it worked. When you're told, so many vijana, ukipata kazi, no, yeah.
Education is the key to success.
Education is the key to success. It was true. By and large, it was true because we were so few. You see, that's the other thing we forgot. Not everybody was going to school. So the few of us who went, it worked.
So the others who
we
didn't go, what were
never
they doing?
questioned.
So go to
See,
church
now
on
the others did farming, and the coffee boom was there. I mean, people were making a decent living.
Okay.
And then there was also, what else was there? The Juakali sector grew that time. So people hustled, so to speak. People hustled. And the cost of living was not as bad. More people were on the land, so food was not as, such a problem.
Yeah.
So people were making do, but the educated class, they saw that education works and that you become rich and blah, blah, blah. And then remember our model, especially for people from Kiambu and surrounding counties, the model was the Kenyatta. It was not the Kenyattas, the settlers. So you've seen to arrive is to be a settler with a big piece of land with some natives working on it, and you're exporting the tea you're growing to England, and so it's also a model. The model we had was that model of wealth accumulation. Yeah. So now when you're asking us, what are you doing? Imagine we've never seen that. Actually, young people asking us, how? And then you're asking us questions we can't answer. What do you do when you can't answer a question?
You go rogue.
Yeah.
Damn. So it's viewed as disrespect when the young people are putting it to task. Like, okay, please explain how
Holding you to
how this money
accountability.
was spent.
Yeah.
They are even surprised you're asking. Let alone the answer. It's not even the answer. Asking.
The guts.
The guts.
You have the guts to ask, and then you're asking a question we can't answer.
It's like
What do? You just use violence.
Yeah.
imagine like if you can ask your dad, maybe you're 5 years old. Your dad comes from Wakalafuko, like, how much money did you make this month? How did you spend it?
Break it down now.
Break it down for me.
But that's not, it's not that, okay, what the young people are saying is, okay, you're taxing me. Why? What is this money for?
Yeah.
You see, that's different. But for us now, like, in fact, I was even telling my age mates, we have to answer our children's questions.
True.
Like asking, why am I going to school? I mean, kids are being tortured in school. I know, I'm a teacher. I mean, they are not having a good time in school. They are suffering, especially those in boarding school.
Yeah.
Then now you're telling them, finish school and you'll get a good job Nyef, 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 nyef. They can see their cousin finished school, doesn't have a job.
Yeah.
True. So what do you mean?
then even like CBC, they were saying, oh, now you see the kids can do sports as talent. But then that same kid is seeing what's happening to Harambee Stars.
Yeah.
So you have to answer that question. What are you talking about? You have to answer that question and say, actually, the system is messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to reach a point where you just admit to your child, actually, the system is not working.
Yeah.
That's what we are afraid to do because we never learned it. For us, the system worked. Yeah. But it's not working now, and we have no answers.
Would you attribute the difference in the generations? Was it maybe because of the lack of information? Because as we have access to all the information right now, more or less.
Yes. There's an information issue. The way us we were educated on a lot of European things. Even in this Kenya, even though it was independent. So we didn't have access to information. By the 80s, lecturers were being arrested for the books they have in their bookshelves. So police come to your house and say, where is Das Kapital, now by Karl Marx? They are looking for those books. Do you have Karl Marx on your shelf? Do you have so-and-so on your shelf? So there was a policing of knowledge. And then we had only one media house, VOK, Voice of Kenya, which the TV station used to open at 5 p.m.
It was a bar.
During the week, 2 p.m. during the weekend. And then the radio, it was 6 to 1. Then it closes. Then it opens at 2, or is it at 4, like that? Then closes at 11. So we didn't have as much information like you guys.
Yeah.
So that's part of the problem, is that my generation doesn't know how to process. How come it is that these young people know so much?
Yeah.
And half of the things they are saying, I don't know. Yeah.
So how do you guys, when you talk about like when you guys were protesting, how do you guys mobilize? Because us now, everything, all the mobilization is happening online because everyone has access to the internet. So how do you guys mobilize without the internet and with such limited access to information?
Yeah, and secrecy, because you could be infiltrated
As well.
as well. So it was more difficult to mobilize, but we would announce, people would announce, and then we meet.
Where would
Announce where?
In the markets or where?
You maybe you put posters, you tell your friends.
Yeah.
So how is that secret anymore if they're posters?
You trust them.
I mean,
You just hope they'll see them.
Yeah.
Because you know, if you put the poster, it will be removed off also.
Anyway, yeah. So
So
hope
it's
they see
word
it.
of mouth.
Yeah.
It's word of mouth. Student leaders saying, in the 90s, the media started becoming a bit more open. So when rallies would be announced, the media would say they have promised to meet at Kamkunji, on Sabasaba and what. So they would hear that way, and then the politicians would now say, no, you should not meet. We will send the cops. So that's how we used to do it. Yeah. We wouldn't mobilize. We didn't have social media to mobilize, but it was still very risky.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if people infiltrate, then now you just see what's happening.
Yeah.
People are taken out.
And as you've just mentioned, speaking of police brutality, was it as crazy as...
It was bad.
It's gotten better. It gets
really bad.
it gets better by the day.
You should call Miguna to tell you those stories. It was really bad. It was very bad. And in fact, like me, you see me, I grew up knowing who was being picked up and what. When I would tell my friends, they wouldn't believe. Because it's not on the news.
Yeah.
You see now, you people are announcing. So-and-so has been picked up. In our days, people didn't believe. It was crazy. Like I remember when Koigi was picked up, I was telling my classmates about it. They said, no, we didn't hear it on the news. Of course, they're not going to
tell you.
True. Yeah. So it was much, much harder. Much, much harder. Yeah.
Because even for us now, it's very real time. If something happens, it's 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You guys had to wait till 7 p.m.
And it might not be mentioned.
to see what the government has allowed you to see.
Yeah. Like me, like I'm saying, since I was in a home where my father was getting this information, I knew a lot of human rights abuses that Moi was doing that my classmates never heard of. I think even up to now, they haven't heard of them. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Pity our generation. There's a lot we don't know and we didn't get to know until much, much, much later.
Yeah.
But you guys get shocked a bit too easy. Jen, I was having a conversation with someone who's turning 61, and they're asking me, what's step 2? Well, like, even as we don't know. They was asking me, who are you replacing Ruto with? When you say Ruto must go, who's coming? We're like, we don't care.
Don't know.
Like, it's a change of system. We don't have a person. And they're like, who is your leader? Like, they were not understanding. They were just getting too shocked. At when you're going to town and they block the roads, how are you going home? Guys are like, we don't know. Like, we'll know there.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mentality that's coming onto this young generation. And it's the same thing you said, like, if we don't do it as all African countries as one, because we have that mentality, like, they can't kill all of us. And it trickles down into now us becomes countries, then it becomes people, and then it becomes for our future. That's why the young people are ready to die on the streets. Because they're like, "Sir, you'll kill me, but the rest will keep marching." Yeah. And it's scaring them a lot.
Because really, our strength is just in our numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's no...
Literally.
Like Maud was saying, it's not like there's a leader who's who we are all following. It's just that, listen, we've had leaders before, they've all failed. And now also, we don't even trust politicians. That's why it's like, politicians, you have a job to do, play your part, leave us, we'll do our part. Because why are we even in this place if you just played your part?
True. The other thing is that you people have the power of story. We did not. People went out and will never know their names. So that's what my generation fears, that this will happen to me and nobody will ever know. Because, see, I'm telling you, when people were being arrested, my classmates didn't know. They thought I was lying. When I was saying this and this is happening to people, when I was saying people are being tortured in Nyayo House, imagine my classmates didn't believe. They didn't believe. So it's possible many of them are hearing these stories after 202. It's possible that there are people my generation who didn't know what Moi did until Moi left. Imagine. So you're thinking, you see, you people, you have a story. The story is being told in real time. So even if you die, somebody will know. Somebody will know, and somebody will know what you're doing. Somebody will go back to town and put up candles and say, so you see, the way we live as human beings, we need to feel that we are living beyond our death, that we will still be alive in the memory of people. We didn't have that. So for us, it's you go. Nobody remembers. I think that's what our generation fears. Yeah.
Because even when it comes to... Because something else like Modoni was telling me on phone is this form of resistance is a new thing to most of us. But within us, there's people who their whole life has just been resistance. So we have the social justice centers, like the Madare ones, who all they do is always just resistance. You have people like from the queer community whose their entire existence is just resistance. So it's that there's people within our spaces that understand what resistance is, and then but for most majority it's also a new thing. So we also don't know. We are like, okay, sawa, we are also resisting, but we really don't know how. We really probably don't know how to go. We really don't know what resistance really means. But because also most of the resistance that are like, if you look at the Mau Mau, they sort of had an organization around it. If you look at Maji, the rebellion, most of them had sort of an organization around it. They had specific people.
Maji was like this, actually. It
Really?
was the guy, Kinjetekile.
Wale.
Him, from what I've read, but I need to refresh my memory, it was just one person, and now the news was spreading through village to village. So it was a multi-ethnic, it was a regional thing. And that's what the Germans found hard in trying to suppress it, because it was just spreading word of mouth, whatever. So I think it was almost the same as what is happening. It wasn't like Mau Mau Yeah, Mau Mau was an army, an organized army, doing the army thing. You train soldiers, you have informers, you have people on the ground helping you. They even had lawyers, people like Pinto Gama, Pio Gama Pinto, were people who were helping with the legal stuff and all that. So it was fairly well organized. The Maji was slightly different. Yeah.
Because now I think that's the biggest task that we face now is, of course, we have, because also resistance is just not physical. So the physical element of being in the streets, occupying, that's one element of it. But also there has to be the intellectual, which is now where the policies lie, which is the actual issues that we want corrected. Those lie more in the intellectual. Because now if you're talking about accountability, then it goes back to, we need to put in place laws that and a framework that actually holds people accountable, sort of a system that works. So there's all those fronts. So there's the streets, which is one, but maybe now it'd be slightly lean towards more of the intellectual is also how do we, make sure that once this is done, we don't go back to this same place where we are now.
You will need new values. That what I'm saying about this tamaa for money, this greed, this what do you call it? The way we adore and worship people with big cars and big houses and who have. That's one thing that has to. There's no revolution without change. That one has to go.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't go, what will happen is that Meg Whitman, is it Whitman?
Yeah.
She's going to look for people to give them money and big scholarships, take them to Harvard, and then you're cooked. Those people will come back and now do the same thing you're fighting against. And then your children will have to do the same thing. So there's a way in which there's a value system that has to change. That's the work you people have started doing. But hey, you must not let go of it. You must not let go of it because that's what when you look at the way the revolutions of the 60s were undermined, it was on small things like that. Somebody decides, hey, I like that girl. Let me take her to the hotel. Then they meet the CIA there. Pop, they're out.
Yeah.
And then you can't even say what he was doing there. There's one revolutionary that happened to him. You can't even say what he was doing there. So there has to be an aesthetic and a value change for you to sustain these politics. It can't only be the law.
Yeah.
It has to be, you must say, we admire you if you're this person, this person, this person. We don't value money. We value work. We value intellect. We value contribution to society. We value love. Those things. You'll have to also do that work. Yeah.
Because it's a big money conversation. If you take money out of this, actually everything just settles.
Yes.
And I look at money from the perspective of now we live in a country where every young person sort of knows the easiest way to make money is join politics.
Yeah.
Like actually, if you join politics, you
automatically
become rich. You know what I mean? So now, if you take that money out of that politics, I wonder how many members of parliament would still be members of parliament today.
People.
If we said from tomorrow we're revising down their salaries to maybe even say 200K a month, how many would still be in those positions? And actually, and we have a clear structure in how tenders are awarded, nepotism, corruption.
Let me tell you the more powerful one.
Yeah.
Imagine this guy becomes a millionaire. He comes here and we just continue doing our business like nobody walked in. That's the powerful one. Because you see, the issue isn't simply that they are stealing money and becoming rich. It's that the next time they walk into a club, everybody stands up. Mheshimiwa this, Mheshimiwa
Where did that Mheshimiwa thing
You
come
start
from?
asking for handout. You start saying, oh, my cousin, he needs this, that. That's what needs to go. It's not even the money because the money is buying them that attention.
Gotcha.
So how do you not give them attention? Yeah.
And
Me, I've
back
done
what
it
you
to an
said.
MP once. I just told him, go away, you're a thief. Yeah, I mean, because I was saying, I'm not going to worship you because you're going to go away thinking that it's that you can keep on stealing and people will admire you.
Yeah.
So like what young people are doing, going to churches and refusing to let MPs speak, that's what we need. Yeah. You stop admiring these people.
Yeah.
Stop inviting them for your events. Do a proper blackout. And say, if you still, we don't know who you are. Yeah, that's it. I'm telling you that the tama for stealing will go down. Yeah. And then now they'll start saying, okay, yeah, we can reduce our salaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they know if I walk around and I'm earning $1 million and I try to go to a football match, nobody's going to give me oxygen.
Yeah.
And that's what they thrive on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think something that also I picked out that was really nice that guys did online is the mobilization to raise money. And like Hanifa, man, she's done such an incredible job in terms of, anyone who's in hospital because of the protests will take care of your bill. So then it's like we don't have to go back to MPs and say, we are not giving them a chance for a sonko to pop up and say, I'll take care of your medical bill so that we can we can have a soft spot for them. It's like, no, we'll fight together and we'll take care of our bills together.
Yeah.
So it takes away from, because now I know all the MPs will be like, I'll take care of that bill, and then people have a soft spot for them, especially people who can't afford maybe healthcare, because as well they fucked up the whole system. So it's that unity in we'll fight together and we'll die together and we'll hold each other together. That is what
we'll provide
for each other. That's exactly what I see as the correct game plan. Yeah.
Then after that, imagine they can tell you, leader, it will not move you because you've had your basics are correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the government is crazy, bro. Like today, like the government is set to deworm 6 million learners. So I was like, okay,
they're still doing that thing.
Yeah. So I'm like,
it's experiments.
It's those bullshit experiments. So my question is why? Like 6 million learners for an experiment is insane. Like, how does a government just agree to these things? Like, what are the Bill Gates and all these foundations? Like, they have us by the balls. Like, how can you literally experiment with kids?
6 million.
And the fucking government consents to it.
Yeah. Again, you owe them, so they own.
But also that's where the parents need to come in and say, we don't want our kids dewormed.
They've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, if the Ministry of Health wants, let them deworm their offices and people who want. Sisi wengine acha tuko na minyoto, we are fine. If that's the issue, you know what I mean? Yeah, they're doing it. It's a new thing.
I saw somebody asking about it and I was like, I can't believe we are back here. Do you know there was a scandal in 2015 about those experiments? And imagine they do them on Kenyans. Me, I've never heard of another.
No, I heard it's Kenya, Uganda, South Africa, and Nigeria too. Especially, but I think the Ebola one is the one that I know that wasn't really successful here. But in DRC, it was,
It's our education. You see what I'm telling you? Somebody who did medicine in our system, the A-level system, never stepped in an arts class after Form 2. So these things of thinking of the politics of healthcare, the economics of healthcare, the imperialism in healthcare, where are you going to learn that? They're not going to do it. Okay, I'm sure doctors will come and say, no, we learned it. But I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced because I don't see it. I don't see them talking about imperialism in medical care. They don't. So I don't know. Yeah. It's a thinking problem, which is what I am always talking about. Hey, our generation was not taught to think in context. We were just told, when somebody has worms, this is what you give them. But we never learned about how World Bank is funded by the Gates Foundation, how these medicines are brought and experimented on our children without us even knowing. In fact, I'm going to be called an anti-something when people see this, but I just wonder, even at the fertility, how do we not know that some of these drugs are not about
depopulation?
Yeah, and they've announced that they want that we are too many. So Hey, but our generation
Like,
can't
who-
think that way. They can't. We were not
How
taught.
is someone concerned that we are too many? Like, who are you? Like, what's your problem?
And you repeat it.
Yeah, and I'm like, brothers, even in Kenya only, there's so many places that you'd go to and you don't even see people. So how are we too many?
We have enough resources for everyone.
For everyone.
Yeah.
But the top 1%, they don't want it to be that way. They want it to be scarce.
Yeah.
It's insane. Because even within the healthcare, what is this new NHIF is supposed to change into
SHIF.
Social something.
social
Health,
something.
yeah.
Social
And now the AMCO group, the president's insurance company, I think the CEO is now becoming the new CEO of that thing. Then they have a lot of the government tenders and offices are getting insurance from this. It's such a corruption. There's a kid who did a whole TikTok about it. And all the companies linked to the president and how much control they have over parastatals and tenders and whatnot. It's insane. It's just a money-making scheme.
And for what? You see, that's what I mean. How much more money can you have? Like
Than
for
you already
real.
have,
Yeah.
truly.
Will it make you happier?
I don't know. I mean, a friend of mine had the surgery the other day, and she's always paid NHIF, and they only paid 18,000 shillings. She pays every month. They paid 18K for a surgery that costed like 2 point something million. So how do you even explain? So why should I keep
So what
paying
have I been
NHIF?
paying?
You know what I
then?
mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, why should I keep paying it? And now I'm gonna need to pay more because now they're increasing
Yes.
how much they need to tax us for NHIF. And then you have such a hefty bill and they give you 18K. 18K is a nini, buy airtime. What nonsense is that? No, for real, for a procedure
That's crazy.
that's gonna cost 2 point something million. If you give someone 18K,
You're near Lucozid.
yeah, well, what is that for? So
To fruits.
it's those two small things, and I think our biggest responsibility now is to openly speak on all these things and hold them accountable. It's like the land bill that now
Yeah.
they're pushing.
Land
That the
amendment
government
bill.
can just repossess your land. How do you explain like this has always been someone's land, all
Generational land.
generational land, and now the government can just come and say, you know what? Now this belongs to us
It's
going
of
forward.
value. I heard they've sent land valuers all over the
All
country.
over the county to assess how much land. I'm like, okay, is it like a competition with the Kenyattas? What is going on? Is it
I
they
think
want
that's
more,
one.
They want more land.
I think it's a competition with the Kenyattas. But I also suspect that there's an imperial hand behind it. When you throw people off the land, they become cheap labor. Then you can do whatever you want with them.
Yeah.
I think that's the idea.
No, you guys are obsessed with land and generation. Now
Yours
should be very
Yes.
clear.
please.
Now we need on the streets with us. Because now the land will be
Literally,
taken.
you're gonna become
Yes,
squatters
yeah.
on your own land.
I need to tell my dad to download TikTok. See, like, because the finance bill has a lot of jargon, but there's just a 19-year-old somewhere is like, this is what it means when this happens.
Yeah.
In 2 minutes, you're angry.
Yeah, you understand exactly what's going on.
Yeah, because you didn't read 45 pages of
Yeah.
a land bill, but in 2 minutes, you understand this is what it means. And now you're like, what?
It's insane. Like and that's why like we can't watch all these things happen. You know, someone at least explain your logic. Who sits and drafts all this bullshit?
Twisted, sick people.
You know,
Let me just say
yeah,
it like
my problem
they're
is,
sick.
you know, when people just spend time to create problems that don't exist,
True.
and then now they want more money to solve these problems. Like the government literally creates problems, and then they
Tries
spend
to
so much
solve the
money
problem.
trying to solve them. We're like, why did we create it in the first place?
It's like the motor vehicle tax. Like, no one has been
Yeah.
able to explain it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, even the person who brought the bill.
Everyone who has a car has money. Like, what do you mean?
Can you imagine? You know
Who
the
uses
crazy-
matatu? The
Yeah.
poor.
You know the crazy. Even that's why the crazy. Can you imagine now that what they're essentially saying is, you own land now, you need to pay rent for that land you own. So what's the point of owning land
Meaning
if
you're
I'm going to
here-
pay rent for it? So it's not just rent.
Meaning you're
'Cause that's
here
what
at
they're
the
saying.
mercy of the
Literally.
Yeah.
government.
So you pay rent for it, but also if they feel like
If you can't, they auction
yeah,
it.
if they feel like also they
is
need it for
that?
something, they don't have to explain.
Yeah, they take it.
They just take it.
And you're still paying housing levy for a house.
And they're still paying housing levy
you'll
for a
never
house
own.
that you'll never own.
And if you get to own it, now you own the land, you need to pay more.
Yeah, you pay rent for it again. It's insane.
It's madness.
It's just insane. But how do you think this works now? So leaderless for sure, but then So what happens next?
See, I should be asking you that.
Yes, Njui. But then
I'll tell you what we know.
after Ruto must go, we don't have number two.
Because you see, even like now,
See, it's a package.
yeah. No, we want. It's the whole system. We just don't want all of them because we don't have. So, because the thing is, when it was Occupy Parliament and then it was one voice, then it was like, okay, cool, let's do it because it's one voice, right? Then when it came to Occupy State House, it was very divisive. It was never one voice, and then it was like, okay, if then we can't agree on it, maybe we should think about it, you know. But now it's clear. Everyone is just saying Ruto has to go, bro. That speech on Thursday night when he called all of us criminals and said he'll deal with all of us.
No good evening, no nothing. He just said,
Nothing.
today I'm like, damn.
But
That
he didn't say
speech.
Nothing. My sister said, today we have witnessed. I'm like, goodness me, who is this?
You know, I liked it's crazy. What's the name of this politician? There's the Wiper guys who came and said he said something that was a bit
Who,
profound.
Kalonzo?
Not Kalonzo. It's Wamalo or someone.
Eugene.
Yeah, Eugene. When he was like, you know, Parliament essentially, that's where laws are made. So for guys to march to Parliament and get killed in front of Parliament and nothing's done about it, it speaks volume. Because this is the house that makes laws.
Yeah.
So for you
On
guys to
behalf
just
of the
kill people
people.
in front of this house
Inside.
and inside, it's crazy. Like those are the people we're dealing with. Yeah, and then that dude just came and called us criminals.
Treasonous.
Yeah, treasonous. I was so happy when I woke up in the morning and just tweeted, good morning.
Good morning.
criminals." I was so happy.
So then the next day you pull up with our sons and daughters.
Hey, we changed titles
No, I
so
think
many
somebody
times.
told
Yeah.
hey, that speech did.
And
track.
then it's very simple. All we're saying is, guys, listen, one, all these trips you're making, they're costing us a lot of money.
And for nothing.
All this money you're giving in churches, we want you to explain why it's going. We are saying we can't allow you in the next budget to have 8 million for confidential expenditure. What is that?
How?
Then then you have 1.1 billion that goes to your wives. So did we elect two of your wives? So it's simple things. We're just asking for accountability, and we don't want wastage of resources, right? So if you want 1 billion for State House, 1 billion alone could
Build so many schools, could give so many teachers salaries.
1 billion
like,
alone also
what?
that could go into paying this debt because their problem is they insist that we have a debt problem. It's true we have a debt problem, but correcting the debt problem is not just overtaxing us. Stop wastage. So it's clear what we want, just accountability. But these guys are like, no. Now
There's an element of entitlement. That's why I'm saying you'll need people to do a kind of like a psychological understanding of what we are like. Sorry to say my generation is like. There's a sense of entitlement. That's part of it. They feel, how dare you? Why are you asking? I deserve to be here after all that I have been put through and because I am in this position. So that's something that you have to confront, that we have that feeling of, this is I deserve this.
But you want the money. If you want the money
from
from me, you
need to
owe me an
explain why
explanation
you
on how you're
need
using
it.
it.
But
Because
that's
their
what
way
I'm
is they want
telling
money
you.
from us. Cool, we'll give you the money. All we are saying is
If it
explain
works,
how you're gonna use the money.
But what I'm telling you is part of entitlement is that you don't ask
Oh,
questions.
you shouldn't question.
Yeah.
So
That's what it means to be entitled. It means I can do what I want and you don't have the right to ask me anything. It's like that.
At any
You
point.
know, I'm sounding like it's foolish, isn't it?
No,
it's actually
completely
very
makes sense.
true.
That's
Makes
what
sense,
it is. It is like that. It's entitlement.
And narcissism, because really, what is that?
That is the word. And that's another thing. It's narcissistic. We are dealing with a psychosis. I'm sorry to say. It's a psychosis, and maybe you should get a psychologist to break this down for you and say, what are your options? But it's a psychosis. You're not dealing with a normal human being, sorry to say. These are not
Don't
normal
be sorry,
feelings.
please speak your facts.
Yeah.
truth, yeah.
So it's a psychosis. I saw there are some people who are doing Frantz Fanon. They're reading him this evening, The Wretched of the Earth. Fanon was a psychologist. So he explains, a psychiatrist. He explains some of these things, especially at the last chapter. he explains that we are dealing with a system that thinks it's so good, but it is destroying people. Yeah, it's not normal. So forget trying to make this thing make sense. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's a terrible place we are in. Yeah. That's why you need even some, if you can find some local spiritual people, because the church is also in that
Like in
sickness.
Jeketile, I don't
the
think so.
churches.
But this is really a spiritual problem. It's a spiritual problem.
Someone said ako ready kulipa waganga wote Kenya.
Yeah.
Watoke tu. Rogeni hao watu.
Imagine you might have to do that. It's a spiritual problem. How do you fix people who think that their humanity is the property they own? Hey, that one, that's a very hard thing. And you see, when this is what the church should be talking about, because they are the ones who say they are spiritual
leaders.
So they should be talking about this.
How can they talk about it? They want money. They want handouts.
Because, okay, the other thing the church did wrong was to admire politicians.
Yeah.
So if you admire a politician with a big car, big house, who is called Mheshimiwa, who is building a school, a hospital. So even you want that, so you do the same. So that's what I was saying about our role models are wrong.
Yeah.
You see, like for me, I have accepted the way I think about life, that is not a life I aspire for. I don't aspire to be wealthy. I aspire for my nephew to call me and say, Auntie, you're coming for this show. That to me is more affirming than any award I can get from anywhere else.
Thank you, man.
Shout out, Dave.
So, that kind of human connection is what my generation never learned. We never learned to appreciate beauty and relationships and those kinds of things. So we want property and money. Yeah, Sankara, how much do his people love him? They love him to
this day.
To this day.
Yeah.
Even 27 years after he died, they were still on the street saying Sankara lives. Me, that's what I want. That's my value.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to steal. Was it here? Where was it? Was here on this show where you were asking, would you rather live forever or would you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
She really is a checkmate. Love it.
That again?
Yeah. Would you? I think the question was,
Remembered.
would you rather live forever or be remembered forever?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you said you gave the correct answer. Yes, we want to be remembered forever, but to be remembered forever, you have to do right by people.
Yeah.
So that is not a value my generation has.
Yeah.
Because we were used to the monuments, and that's another thing on the agenda. All these hospital schools named after a certain family.
Yeah, airports named after families. Yeah.
They need to be renamed. Yeah. Because you see, that's what continues that thing
cycle.
of, I want to be like. So even you want a hospital named after you, a school named after you, what?
Why do people want
Especially if you didn't do anything with a legacy, like why do you need it named after you?
Exactly.
Like the governors, anytime there's a waiver, a picture of yourself on a billboard.
Yeah.
I don't get
And
it.
then the waiver is this small. You're the whole thing.
Even the guy, was it the governor who wished someone, the person who died on the protest, unfortunately?
She's the whole poster.
She's 75% of the picture and then the photo of the person
with
who
a
died.
fading image. And it's like, so what was the
Ati,
purpose?
rest in peace.
Yeah. Bro, you see.
And I'm sure it's not the designer who did that. They were told.
Fanya. Yake weka fading huko kwa kona. Why?
It's like they send it, we need an RIP message for this guy, and then you design it, you send it, and then they're like, where am I? Kwa nini wewe umekufa?
But it's an actual problem. Because you walk around Nairobi, you see Sakaja right, left, center.
Oh, yeah.
You go anywhere, you just see billboards.
No, bus stops. You've put your face
Yeah,
there.
on a
At
bus stop.
And
sponsored
then they're
by.
saying, thank you, Nairobi.
Sponsored.
Bro, like literally a water tank for a community-based project donated by...
Yeah. Even toilets.
Even toilets, CDF by... I'm like,
Why?
All border
So now
stands around the
I need to take
country.
a shit and look at your name.
And be proud that I'm cheating because of you. Wow. No.
Oh my goodness.
It's a problem.
Get
It's a
real.
very big
Now I'm
problem.
understanding. When you keep saying like it's a thing, like it's centered around them and themselves and what they want. Yeah. It's like
And you see, it came from the colonialists because they named everything after
Even the
themselves.
schools, that's
Yeah.
very true.
Now it makes sense why in
Churches.
Shags everyone on their gate has their name. This is the home of.
It's weird.
And then the bigger your gate, the bigger.
Yeah. But you know, even the next, to be very fair, is I don't see the church being as strong as the church is in a few years. It begins, like a lot of us, like me, I proudly, like I'm never even shy to say, I just don't want that association because I just can't, I see through the bullshit. So now it's just, slowly the church is just going to lose its footing. And guys will start boycotting the churches because the churches, they don't speak, they don't say anything. Like the church literally made statements after guys had been killed.
Sitam just made one today,
all the time
talking
when we were
about
complaining,
slaves.
saying anything, they were hosting politicians, taking their money, not saying anything. So how am I going to sit in the same space with those people? And it's an easy fix for me because if I really believe in God, I don't have to go to a church.
True,
Just
stay.
talk to my God and because out. I don't need to come to your helicopter church of whatever madness.
The thing is,
Not helicopter church.
let me just say, because we
Helicopter
have a
church of
church
whatever
pastor,
madness. Sounds like a good name though.
True.
there are two things for the church. And I'm not saying to redeem the church or anything, but there are two needs of society that you have to address.
Okay.
One is the spiritual need and for people to meet. Yeah. We don't have spaces. Remember, I said about the parks. At least in Nairobi, there are no spaces for people to meet.
They're just building malls.
They're just building
And
malls
apartments.
and apartments and churches. So you can't, the church will always have people as long as those spaces are not there. So that's a need you need to address. Where can people meet, do arts, just have a nice time with not having to pay anything. So you see on the agenda, you have to put green spaces. They have to be there. Green spaces, sports grounds, libraries, all those have to be there. So that's one thing that the church is sort of parasiting on. There's nowhere else for people to meet. And then there's the spiritual need. People need to be spiritual. They really do. It's a part of our humanity. Where can we get that sorted? So
On this podcast.
right now on this podcast, but you also need somebody to touch you, to say, Paul Sana, my child. Yes.
You don't?
You don't want somebody
Not
to put
somebody
their-
with the thing on the neck. Hell no.
not caress, but
No, please.
to
Do
bless
not.
you.
No.
Human beings need it. It's a human
What
need.
does it do?
It's a human need.
Like genuine. It's a human need, Sawa, but
Yes,
what does
it's a
it
human.
genuinely do? Like genuinely.
Because there's a part of our lives that is spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are not just biological beings. Otherwise, we would be like animals. So there's a part of us that is spiritual, that wants to feel connected to the universe that we are living in, that wants to say, this river of my ancestors, it's flowing here, it means something, it carries the spirits of whatever. But there has to be that acknowledgement of that side of our humanity. So right now, the church is dominating that space.
Fact.
So part of the revolution has to be, how do we take care of that need for spirituality?
Psychedelics.
Then the
They do
second,
drugs. Psychedelic drugs.
psychedelics is individual. You feel it on your own. Yeah.
Maybe if you take
So
If you do it together, some people do hands.
Some psychedelics.
That's community
Group
to me.
psychedelics.
But you're still in your heads.
True,
You're
okay.
still in your heads.
It's true.
Yeah. You need that spirituality where you're all talking. That shared spirituality. That's what we don't. I mean, that's one thing that is missing. A spirituality that is politically empowering. Then the second one is education. I'm telling you, the problem of our clergy is that they are not educated. And I don't mean educated, have they got degrees and what?
Yeah.
But a clergyman should have read Franz Fanon, Wretched of the Earth. If they haven't read it, what are you doing? If you haven't read Education for Critical Consciousness by Paulo Freire, if you haven't read How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, I don't care how many Bibles you have read. You must also read these other things. The clergy are not reading. So they don't know what... I'm telling you, ask any clergyman what IMF does. Do they know?
No idea.
They don't know IMF. They don't know finance bill. They don't know. Like, really, there's an ignorance which was promoted by the church. The church in our days, in the 90s, they used to say, oh, you don't need to learn anything. You just need to know that Jesus saves. No. Jesus was a colonized subject under the Roman Empire. We need to know these things. Yeah, Jesus had a skill. He was a carpenter. You know, we need to see the human dimensions of our lives, and that can only be done by a proper education, which we don't have. Sorry, we don't. So those are the two issues as long as those are not addressed, people are just going to go to church and be conned.
No, but what about
That's
regulation? Because like
It will not
Kagame has tried to do that, and I think it's really worked in
But he
Rwanda.
forced the clergy to go to school.
Yeah.
He told them, you have to go to school.
Then I think that's a thing that should also be done here. And regulation, even in the sense that you just can't wake up today. Even if you've gone to school, you just can't wake up and start your own church.
Yeah.
and not pay taxes.
And not pay taxes.
Forget even the taxes. But for me, the issue is, even if we say they go back to school and become learned, still, we need to control the overpopulation of churches.
Yeah. It's
But
too
you
many,
see, Kagame is also educating his people. You see. So it can't be just the church. You need to work on education. Education is a must. You must work on the education because the point, you know what Karl Marx said about the religion being the sigh of the oppressed creature. If people are oppressed and sad, they need somebody to say, it's okay, my child. Yeah. And that's what the church is supposed to do. Doesn't do it, but that's what it's supposed to do. How do you meet that need? In fact, now you're asking what next. Yani, people have to group in the different fields and look at what is the problem of our sector. The philosophers have to get together. The religious people have to get together. The educators have to get together. Or everybody who is interested in one or two or three things, you get together and say, this thing we are fighting for, how does it translate into sports? How does it translate into education? How does it translate into healthcare? How everybody has to do that work so that all the sectors now they come and now together, when they come together, they merge and create the society we want. That's the work we did not do, and that needs to be done. Yeah. So like me, I've sat in education. I have sat there, refused to move. And I've said this thing is bad, and it's bad for this and this and this and these reasons. Yeah. And this is what we need to be doing. So imagine if somebody was doing the same for medicine, doing the same for sports, doing the same, every space somebody is sitting there and saying, this is what we need for us to have the society that we are looking for. So that's the work that needs to be done. And it's a lot, by the way. I mean, I never knew I would be doing this work. I started doing it in, about CBC came in 2017. Around 2016 is when I started asking, what's happening with education? Why is it like this? And now reading, I have read history books until, I have read and just asked questions, asked people, what was school like for you? You know, just some people have to do that work. And it's lonely work, but it has to be done.
Someone has to do it somehow.
Yeah.
How is this like work done? Who do you submit to? Like, for example, like you've said, I've identified a sector.
Yeah.
I've looked at what needs to change. What next?
What next is I need to write. I need to write and leave something for people to look at. Yeah. So that then now people think about it. Because, you know, also, another thing about ideas is that they take long. We were just talking with Mordecai Ogada yesterday, and he was saying the things we wanted people to understand about MPs in the 2010 Constitution, they have now understood it in 2024. When now people are going and telling their MPs, you voted yes, we don't want to see you here. That was what we expected in 2010. So ideas take a long time. They take time to gel and to for it to sink into people's minds. So I am patient. I will wait. I'll wait, but the important thing is to start talking about it, and then people hear. Then they say "Enyewe," and then they expand it. You see, also people are expanding it as they hear, they listen, then they add on top. So that's how ideas spread, and that's why the government crashes them before they get too far. They don't want to wait. They want to crash you before you get too far. Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of work. A lot of work and a lot of patience. Yeah.
We're ready.
So what there needs to be is some people who are behind the scenes thinking, planning, looking through the documents. I mean, have you seen, and by the way, this is what the conservative, racist right wing, that's what they do. What's his name? Trump. They've already started planning those things. They were even announcing it. We're going to do this, going to do this, going to do this. The problem for us who are changing is that we are so busy changing things, we don't take time to think, okay, how do we plan the next step? So there has to be a reserve army saying, here are the problems with different sectors. Let's look at them. What can change? That kind of thing. Yeah. Where you people are going to get me picked up? The way I'm talking.
We'll look for you.
Okay, yeah.
So here we fight together. No, I think it's necessary. Information is power, and also it's not like we're saying anything that doesn't exist already. You know, this is information that is already available to everyone. Yeah, but thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me.
Was it easier than you thought?
Much easier. I was like,
The fear is gone. The anxiety is gone.
No.
They're going to grill me, and I don't know whether I'll have the answers.
Yeah. Would you ever come back if you invited you again?
Yes.
For sure.
And do what you're doing. Let me
you.
just say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We need these spaces.
Okay.
Yeah. This thing of mainstream media and education is the school system. It's not enough. We need to be talking and, breaking down things for ourselves.
Yeah.
And understanding them. So you've already started. You're asking, it's already started. This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is how we do it. Yeah.
Archive as much information as possible. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for making time.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Who sasa ndio mheshi?
Exactly. Exactly.
Mamku.
Yeah. Anyway, episode 176, Professor Wandia. We are
Mic check!
Over 26. This is the Parker Podcast.
This is the Brunch Club.
Over 26. Welcome back to
The mics are closed.
Now, when you watch it, you'll understand.